Hi everyone, this is Mike with a second example of using the spreadsheet that I was showing you in the previous video. If you have not watched the previous video yet, I recommend doing that before you watch this one. In that video, I explained a few things about hypothesis testing on two samples, and that's the topic that you should be studying at this point. And we also did an example from the assignment here, number 12, and I looked at question number 17. And this video is going to be a shorter video. We're just going to look at number 10. And one thing I wanted to point out about the spreadsheet that you have access to, remember there's a link in MyOpenMath for it, and when you click on the link, you're going to need to make a copy of that document in your Google Drive, in your Google account, and then you'll be able to manipulate it like I'm showing you in this video. So there's actually a way to import or copy and paste just plain old data. In number 17, if you recall from 17, there was a question and they just gave us the statistics. They told us how many people were in the sample. They told us what the mean of each sample was and what the standard deviation of each sample was. And number 10, they don't do that. They just give us the data. And so spreadsheets are good at doing this, and the spreadsheet that you have access to now will allow you actually to copy this data straight from the page and paste it into here where it says A1. This is where this data should go. So you're going to press Control V. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try that again. Sometimes copying and pasting data can be tricky out of here, so you want to make sure you capture the whole table, and the way to do that is actually just to make sure you're outside of the table. So I'm just going to highlight those things, and I'm going to pull this just a little bit beyond the table, and that way when I copy the data it knows that it should be in a table format, and that looks a whole lot better. But notice I picked up a few things here that I'm going to just delete. Okay. All right, so here's the data, and just before we go any further, let's just look at what the question is. So we're looking at a claim that the mean grade point average of night students is different than the mean grade point average of day students. This is a common belief among faculty that night students are stronger students than day students. There are lots of reasons why faculty tend to believe this, but here's some data that we might be able to use to test a claim like that. Notice they tell us there's a sample of 28 night students and 24 day students, and the GPAs are all recorded below. We're testing this claim at a level of 10% of significance. So let's go back here. Remember, the night students are in the first column here in the A column, the night students here, and the day in the B column. And over here to the right is a hypothesis test for two means, independent with data. If these were matched pairs, we could do the same thing, but remember, if there were matched pairs, then the n would be the same for both of them, because these would be dependent data sets, and so the size of each sample would be the same. So you do the same thing if these were matched pairs. But these aren't matched pairs, these are individuals with data. I would be looking over here if they were matched pairs. But I'm looking over here because these are independent samples. And notice it computes the mean of sample 1 of the night students and the mean of sample 2, the day students, the standard deviation for both samples, and it actually even counts the number of individuals in each sample. Then it gives us the t-score. Again, we don't know the standard deviation. It gives us the t-score and the p-values, which we'll be looking at in just a minute. So let's scroll down here and say we're going to ask what the null hypothesis is. Again, these are means, these are population means, and we're going to say the mean of one population is going to be equal to the mean of the other. And the null hypothesis, the alternative hypothesis is going to be that the means are different from one another. Notice that is in the language that's encoded in the language up here. You are testing the claim that the mean is different for night and day students. And the spreadsheet found the test statistic for us. Remember, the test statistic is this t, 0.34, and a bunch of zeros. And the p-value that goes with that test statistic. Now this is a two-tail test. You may remember from the previous video I used a two-tail p-value instead of the right tail, which is what we were supposed to use. But this is a two-tail test because this is a not equal to, so it can be either bigger than or less than, just as long as it's not equal to, so that's on either side. And so this p-value is 0.73579. 0.73579. And because the p-value is larger than the given significance level, we are going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. And a correct summary would be that, so we want to ask, is there not enough evidence to support the claim that they're different? I would say actually that's true, but let's look at some of these others just in case. There is enough evidence to reject the claim that they are different. Well, we're not rejecting the claim, we're actually failing to reject the null hypothesis. So there is not enough evidence to reject the claim that the mean GPA of night students is different than the GPA of day students. Oh, and I think I misspoke. So there is not enough evidence to support the claim that they're different. Oh, so yeah, that is the right one because we can't reject the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is that they are equal to one another. And since we are not rejecting that, we don't have evidence to support the fact that they're different. So we press submit. And looks like we're right on all counts. So that is another example of how you can copy and paste a data set into this Google form, or this Google Sheet, sorry. And remember, you can, if you want, toy around with some of these other tabs. The confidence interval tab could be useful going forward. So could the descriptive stats tab. And there are even some probability calculations that it can do for you here as well. But this video and the one that I posted just above this video was about how to conduct hypothesis tests using two means or two sample proportions. I hope this has been useful, but be sure to contact me if you have any questions. Good luck.